All right, what is up, friends and fellow anti-netters? With me, we have Nick, aka Nikolaos, I believe is the Greek pronunciation.
Yep.
And Nick is he's been on the same kind of journey that I've outlined, and probably a lot of you guys have been through. He started with Obsidian. He's been through the whole Obsidian phase. He's taken a dive into Sankey Arens's book, How to Take Smart Notes, and then he's taken a deep dive into the world of analog, the crazy few of us who have decided to do things the Nicholas Luhmann way, the old way, the hard way, the best way. And so Nick reached out to do a one-on-one Antinet coaching session. And this one I think is going to be really unique. We're going to dive into a lot of aspects, and we're going to just jump into things. So Nick, welcome to the Scott Scheper YouTube channel that is, growing and snowballing.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah. So why don't we start by doing this? Why don't you give me a layout and give me a tour and give like all of us a tour of how your Antinet Zettelkasten is currently looking and working.
All right. Actually, I'm trying to do what
yes, let me admit you. Yeah.
I'm trying to use my phone so I can better show you.
Yeah.
The prince inspired me to do that.
The Antinet prince. I can't wait to figure out what nickname we're going to come up with you.
Yep.
the Greek god of anti-netting. Yeah, there we go.
I don't mind that. All right, let me see if I can. All right.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so now I have to figure out how to
reverse it. Yeah, and what you want to do is turn off, maybe I can mute it. I'm going to turn off can I mute? You could turn off the audio on your phone.
Oh. Let's see. I believe there is no audio. Can you hear double audio?
No, it sounds great.
All right, so let me. I have no idea how to turn the camera. Oh, found it. Okay, perfect.
Awesome. Yeah, and hopefully this will continue on, because when we did it with Peter, for some reason it only lasted 15 minutes. So let's try to get as much juice out of this as we can.
Yes, I have enough battery, so let's hope it stays. Okay, so the first thing you'll notice here is that there's some digital notes.
Yep.
That's because I started off in the digital world and I was using Obsidian, then plain text files without any software. And then I wanted to become more fundamentalist, more closer to Luhmann. So what I did was create a 4x6 format on Microsoft Word.
I did the same thing, exact thing. Yeah.
And I named my files and I named my cards after the same numeric alpha system, and tried to be as close to paper as possible without using paper. So eventually I printed out these notes, 4x6 notes, not all of them, because some of them I don't think I need offline. I'll just forget about them. If I need them, I'll put them on paper. But for now, this is all I have here.
Cool. Are those all printed?
Not all of them. Like, for example, like I have of course written notes on.
Yeah. So you've evolved some of it. And stuff. Yeah.
But only a few weeks ago I decided to go offline. So much of it will be written on Microsoft Word, but I still find them useful. You said you didn't transfer all of your notes offline, but
no.
I try to stick on the 4x6 format, so I think they will serve me quite useful.
Look, here's one of my cabinets right here. This is the 4.2, and then I just pulled out one random, and here's here's one. This is in the early days. I did a few printed out to experience it, and I'll say this much is, as I'm going through and writing my book right now, and writing, going through that process. These are helpful and I've used them, but they're not as valuable as the handwritten ones. They're about like, I would say between 50 to 80%. I mean, they're better than nothing, right? And you've already created those. It's just that I don't know why, but it feels like when I review them, I take the handwritten ones, a lot more seriously, because I'm like, man, I've gone through the painful process of written by hand. That said, you've gone through the exact same phase I went through when I went from Obsidian and dove all in with the Antinet. Is you essentially, it sounds like you've imported the most important stuff, the most relevant stuff, and that's good. Yeah.
So I had like thousands of notes, and offline you can only find about 400 of them, and then the rest of them I'm gonna write them down.
Yeah. So, cool. Yeah. No, looks great. I'm just, yeah, exactly. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah. So one of the main things, so basically I think you start off creating categories, the top level categories.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I wanted to ask you is, my categories, as you can see here, when I started, it starts with 1.1.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I have a note that's named top level categories, because they're not the same. So I wanted to get your Zettelkasten top level sections. So I have a note here where these are the top level sections where I developed when I was following Aaron's methodology. And I was trying to use your sections, but I found I feel like I had to rename every single node that I created.
Yeah. So don't continue with this right here.
Yeah.
Yours is going to have a special structure. The yes.
Yeah, as you can see, it's not the same, but I tried to use, like, for example, number 1 is global status. I do have some personal insights, some personal notes. When I first started, my Zettelkasten and writing is on the 3. I have interest in privacy and the internet. Psychology is on the 6,006 point. Climate, health. So this is how I'm starting it. And going forwards, I'm planning to use the Wikipedia sections for the news sections that I haven't established yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how I'm gonna make it happen yet, but because I don't want to just branch out like this, because it might get a little bit too confusing to find out where things live.
Yeah, I think
I'm still figuring out.
Yeah, so I'll say a few things. First off is, and maybe this will change in the future, but the reason I don't teach people how to do it like how you did it, you started out with your own top level tree classification system, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Based on your interests, your personality, so you're injecting it with a unique personality from the get-go, right? This was something that I was thought about in my head of doing initially. However, what I found is that I'm like, well, it's like, I don't know where I'm going to expand. And so I decided what made sense for me was using the top level academic disciplinary fields, just as a way to consult and kind of create like a overall tree of knowledge. I think I was also motivated by a guy he's an investor, Warren Buffett's, he's a wise sage investor. He's a guy named Charlie Munger. And he talked about how, you should almost go through the academic disciplinary fields and just get a basic understanding of all of them. So I was like, oh, that's a unique idea. Plus it provides structure. And then it kind of motivate me to structure and try to go through all the academic disciplines, all that stuff. Right. So that was a decision I made, and I teach it. The reason I teach it for people, like new people, is because I think it provides a little bit of a more of a framework than just, hey, start with category 1 and then, create a random set, because that's almost harder for people to fathom, I think, sometimes. Yeah. However, you've gone through that work, you've done it, and that's a good thing. what you have is you have a unique personality, a unique, in your Antinet. It'll create and retain that unique structure so that you can communicate with it in a certain way. As to how you want to integrate the academic disciplinary fields, yeah, that's something we can explore and talk about. I think it'll be good. Yeah, I think you probably have some ideas on how to do that, right? Like of things you've thought about.
I have, well, so I'm reading a book. I don't have it with me, it's at work, but I'm reading a book about ADHD.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a section of ADHD, and I was thinking that it should collide with a top level section with in health, because I'm in there. I'm quoting sources from the medical field a lot. So I wanted to make it come closer to the health section.
Mm-hmm.
And put it in there so that I can be able to move around the nodes related to health.
Yeah, that's kind of the only issue with your structure, right? Is because it's like the name of the game is to kind of group the most similar items together, and you already have like health in the middle of it or something, right? Yeah, let's bookmark this and we can explore this in a second. Go back to showing me your Antinet again. And so that's your main section. Do you have an index, and do you have bibliography?
So my bibliography so far has lived online, and I still have to take it offline. I have yet to take it offline. It's in my, let me see, plain text files on a node called literature, which is here.
Okay. Oh, so nice. You got an alphabetical order?
Yes, alphabetical, last name, a year, and then the name of the book or the other blog post.
Yeah. So, fire up one of those. Let me see what they look like, just out of curiosity. Okay.
So it might be pretty much overwhelming because I was taking a lot of notes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Before I discovered how Lumen did it, I was just writing down everything.
Yeah, it's I think it's a habit. It's I used to do the same thing. It's a lot of fun doing it too. The thing is yeah, once I've gone the Lumen way, it's makes a lot more sense. Okay, I like this. Okay, cool. So that's your bibliography sections online.
That's my bibliography. So from now on, my goal is to, of course, take offline notes, and it will live here. Actually, now this is my index. For now, some of my bibliography one will go here, and then I order another box, which is coming, and that will be the dedicated bibliography box. So this is my index over here. I have my, I don't have all the letters.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And yeah, over here.
Okay. All right. So let's see. Let's set aside some things to tackle. So one of which is maybe we can explore the top level classifications and kind of how you want to evolve yours, right?
Yep.
And then, do you have any other things that we should definitely cover in this video as well?
So one thing I wanted to cover, so there's some minor things I want to ask you, and there's some more major. So the one is the literature notes, the bibliography, the bib notes, observation notes. A little bit give me the gist of how I should be taking them, even though I've watched all your videos. Like get a sense of it again and how to file them. And then the other one is a more nuanced. For example, you spoke about having a vocab section in your main box. And then I have a question with quotes. How do you handle quotes that are not related to ongoing main notes, but they're rather interesting, and you want to place them somewhere in the Zettelkasten, and you want to come back and revisit them just for inspiration, or have in the mind in the future?
Yeah,
things like these, more nuanced
Yeah.
rather than building, cards.
How about, why don't we kind of start in reverse order? We'll start with the quotes and what you've just talked about. And then let's get into the bibliography, the bib card notes, right? And then let's talk about the tree classification and ideas for that. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So first things first, let's talk about the excerpts and the quotes. So let me show you what I have in my category, my section. Let's see. I think it's in this one. So for me, I have a section called prose, Prose. I haven't actually looked this up in a while because I've been so busy with the book. But all right, so for quotes, I have a section called prose. Here's this right there, if you can see it. And it is section 1380. And 1380, the reason it's that is because it goes in, I think that's the branch of like literature, and it's in the arts and humanities, And I also have like a related to prose grammar section. So one way of handling that is, and this is interesting, is like, so I've, it's like I have, it's like, just like Hemingway literature type of prose and quotes in here. Like, so this one is a Hemingway one. And this is an old one. Like this is on a 3x5 card before I even was like actually using the Antinet. I went back and backward, made it backwards compatible and like installed old notes, into the Antinet about a year ago. So like this is a Hemingway one. It was like, quote, "I was enjoying it. It was lousy to enjoy it, but I felt lousy." It's just like your typical Hemingway quote. So I was like, okay, that resonated with me. So that's one way of handling quotes. The quotes that you're talking about, are they just good quotes, like good prose, like from literature, or are they quotes pertaining to a certain category?
Yes, they're mostly quotes from prose, from literature. Like I'll find a very interesting way that an author spoke about something or formatted a sentence in a very poetic or related, relevant way to me. So I'll just write it down in an index card, and I want to keep it, but it's not related to an ongoing line of thought, but something that just is nice prose that I want to keep it forever, pretty much. And when I put it in a prose section, keep it somewhere so I can reference it, or not even reference it, just have it there.
Exactly.
When I want inspiration or something.
That's exactly why I used it as well. When writing, it's good to always like be able to flip through them, and it creates reverberation in your mind. So to answer your question is, what I do is, I have that section 1380, and it's like called prose, like literature prose or something like that, right? And that goes in my literature section. So that's pretty simple and easy. Now you can take it a step further. I have another in my index, I can look it up. I have another section called like funny quotes or funny prose, and funny ideas, right? And so I have that section as well. And I don't know where that one lives. Let me see. Yeah, it's that's like section 1457, for me. I don't know why that was 1457. Oh, because it was in like sayings and linguistics. And it was like related to some sayings and stuff. So yeah, that's another way. So I do have literature quotes and prose. I put it in like the literature section. Yeah. Now, when I extract excerpts and quotes, now, like for instance, for the project, like the Antinet book, I don't put it in a quotes section, right? I don't put it in the literary section. I put it in the closest idea in like my Antinet Zettelkasten book branch is 4214. So if I come up with a quote from reading, I will place that excerpt closest to the most similar idea in the Antinet branch. So within 4214. So keep that in mind too. Like don't put all of the quotes that you pull. I think you kind of already know this, but don't put all of the quotes that you pull in the prose section, the literary prose section. Put in the most similar idea, except when it's like stylistic prose. Put that in the literature section.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. That was an easy one.
That was an easy one.
Yeah, exactly. It was. I basically could have answered that just by saying like, yeah, create like its own dedicated category within literature. That's it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
Cool.
it's good to hear it. I mean, because reading it and listening to it and showing me actually where they live, yeah, it embeds to my mind better.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, so the next one will be the vocabulary section, my question. And then after that, I remembered something else I want to ask you to keep it to bookmark it is external references. I know the last video you shared spoke about external reference a little bit, but I want to ask you a little bit, go more in depth, because I don't think you tackled that too much in the last video.
Yes, I would love to. And I'll show you the two kind of areas where we could do external references too. So yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So we'll do the vocab first.
Yeah, sure. Let's go vocab. I love it, man. Let's keep rolling. You've we're going into the advanced stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I love it. All right. So give me the question about vocab.
So I have been, English is not my first language, as you might have noticed. I have an accent. I'm from Greece. So I have dedicated the rest of my life basically learning more words, because I want to just, every time I encounter a word that I do not know, most of the time when I read books, I understand, I get the meaning from contextual clues. But, I want to know the meaning. I want to know how to use it in a sentence in the future. So in the past, what I've been doing is using Anki. Do you know special forget how you call it now.
Yeah, I would call it like maintenance rehearsal is the technical term in human memory. It's like basically rehearsing words. Yeah.
Yes, so I've been using Anki for that, but what I noticed is that over time I do not just open my phone and go over the words. I feel lazy, I forget about them. And I also noticed that when I used to use 3x5 cards to write down my words, I remember them better.
Yep,
so,
exactly.
Basically, my question is, how do you, I mean, I don't know if you do the same thing, but how do you embed your vocab into the Zettelkasten so that you can continue expanding your vocabulary knowledge?
Yep. Another awesome question. All right, so here's my like my cabinet for like the 1000 branch and 1000 to 1599. So inside you'll see a bunch of things. These first sets, so these are almost like their own indexes almost, but this first set, this is alphabetical for Latin words, right? So I started getting into etymology for stuff like where did the roots of the words come? And I have Greek here as well. Like this one's Greek, this is Latin. Now, this section right here, this section is 1460. And what's interesting is this is like one of the first sections when I started building out the Antinet about a year ago. I started, because ever since 2006, I kind of did the same thing you're doing is I'll pull out this section. I would write out, the word on the front. I'll just show you. This is from A, okay? And I would write out the word on the front, right? That's abode. And then on the back, this is like, that's a simple one, right? On the back is home, So, accoutrements. Yeah, accoutrements. There's that. And on the back, it's the definition. And then it's also a sample used in the sentence, right?
Yeah.
And then I have the where it came from, Paradise Lost, page 19. That's kind of a new wrinkle I added to the mix. So this is how I've done that. I've like this. I have this vocab section, basically 14, 16, and I've created addresses for each one, right? Now, I'll be honest, is I don't know if I did it again, I don't know if I would do the same exact method. You see how I've created like 1460/A2? I'm like, that doesn't really make sense, as that address. This is when I was first building it out. This is an example of a mistake, like locking in mistakes, but it's like it's not that much of a mistake because I can still address it. But if I was going to do, what I'm saying is, if I was going to do it again, I would probably do 1460 / and I would just write the word acrimonious because it's, alphabetical anyways. So you might as well save some time and do it. But the bottom line, the most important thing when you're trying to, when the purpose of this section really is to do maintenance rehearsal, to do what you do, to make it easily accessible, to like always go through these things. So what I might do probably at some point is I like to just grab a huge chunk of them, and just flip through them and like refresh my memory. Yep. So right now they're all kind of like, these ones are separated by separators. So it's a little bit, you can't just grab a chunk, I mean, I could grab the other thing. So I might even take out the dividers, but anyway, I think you get it.
Yep.
I've done basically what you probably would have done regardless. I've like the vocab word on the front, and then on the back I have the info. Now here's something interesting, and I started to do this with the Latin root words, the Latin terms, is I'll have like the Latin root, like this is for A for Latin, like asymptomare. I don't even know what that means. And I'll link to another item in the main part of the Antinet. So that's 2458/2. And so what that does, instead of me just putting the word in the Latin, I will intersperse the words and put it into my main box of my Antinet. I'll tell you why that's something to consider. I don't want to like make this too complicated, but for instance, Nicholas Luhmann talked about the Antinet in one of his cards. He called it a ruminant, and I just tweeted this out like yesterday. But a ruminant is a type of animal, like a cow or sheep, that eats grass, and then it goes into a rumen, which is like an area of the stomach of this animal, and the grass sits there and it ferments for a long time before it can be fully digested. And that type of animal is called a ruminant. He called his Antinet Zettelkasten a ruminant for ideas, meaning a lot of the stuff you don't want to like necessarily fully process yet. It needs to be digested, right? And so when I was writing about that concept, I came across, I'm like, where does ruminant come from? Like, what the hell is a ruminant? Okay. And so then I looked up the Latin word for it and the Greek etymological word for it. And it comes from ruminare, which means to chew in Latin. And that term ruminare also forms the stem or the root of the word ruminate, like rumination, when you're like ruminating on an idea. That's what a ruminant animal and all that stuff. So I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. So all that stuff, I didn't just put in, I'll show you what I did, is in the Latin, I almost have like a second index, just kind of like Luhmann had a second index. So if I go to R in here, yeah, exactly. So if I go to R in this category, it's a way for me to put my vocab words in. So it links me to 5249/9/8i/2. So ruminare in Rumen links me to the mainnet where it talks about that idea. This is like an idea talking about all of that. So I've like interspersed all of that stuff. So yes, that's an alternate way of doing vocab words.
It's like putting endnotes in the vocab.
Yes, exactly.
and go finding them. Well, that's also very interesting because it provides more of a context of where
exactly
the word applies.
Yes. And then so when I'm going through that concept of Nicholas Luhmann calling it a ruminant, I then have access immediately to ruminare and the etymological root. So I can be like, when I'm explaining it and writing about it, it skips that extra step of having to go grab it from a link. I could just be like, okay, ruminant actually stems from ruminare, and just that's the thing is like with the Antinet, like you end up writing a ton because it just gives you so much depth and detail. So I try to make that type of stuff more concise, so I don't go on forever, so I don't write like a page about the roots of ruminant. I try to like condense it into a few sentences to a paragraph. But so I've kind of it's simple yet can be complex, meaning for your vocab words, you can keep it simple and do the Anki method and of keeping them all stored in one place, or you can have them act almost like you can create a secondary index for vocab words and then place them in your main box. I've done both. I am not sure which one I like. I kind of like storing them in the main box. That way, I like you said, I connect them to a bunch of the context, and then I can use the terms more.
That way you also come across them without actually putting the mental effort to, let's finally go over my vocab. Yeah,
exactly. And they're kind of chain linked together, due to the nature, instead of being remote linked to like the the vocab part of the internet. So I would say try both, but from my experience, I like interspersing it into the main net or main part of the section.
Yeah, I think I will do both because there's words that might not warrant like a contextual clue, like words that just sound beautiful that I want to use, I want to learn, and then there's the Latin and Greek words where you actually need the etymology. Those are the ones that I believe might need to be in the main box, be able to reference them back to the etymology. So I think I'll have a mix of both. I think what you have been doing is pretty much what I will do.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. I totally forgot that, it's like I'm explaining these Greek terms to you, and it's like, oh, that's like your first language here. Like I have like chronos right there.
Time.
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, don't think that because I speak Greek, I know these words. Most of them are like ancient Greek, and that's like also a foreign language to me. But most of them are similar.
yeah. It's like me equating it any English speaker with understanding Old English.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, what's the next one?
Yeah, the next one. So let me see. I actually have a list here because my memory is not that good these days.
Awesome. Yeah, it'll get better. I feel like my focus and memory has gotten so much better. I don't even, it's like when I was on digital Zettelkasten land, I had to do fleeting notes, but it's like now I can just like I don't even.
The use now of I just carry index cards with me in my backpack, and I just pull them out and I write in them.
Yep.
I don't have to do any fleeting notes most of the time.
Yeah.
All right. So, and also the digital, it's not just because it's digital and the contextual, it's just that it tires my mind. It's just so easy for my brain to get fogged up just by looking at the screen and like get confused and not be able to think.
Yep.
That's a problem that I don't have on paper. Like I can spend more hours looking at my index cards as opposed to my plain text files. It's just the blue light, whatever is doing the damage, it just hurts my mind.
Yeah, and I also think we create so much superfluous extra information and details in digital because it's so easy to create. So before you know it, you're staring at this massive wall of plain text, in these system fonts, and you're like, wait, it's like that's great for the next step, like but for the thinking phase, I swear to God, like the analog thinking by hand, thinking by hand, you're already on the train, but you get it. Yeah, it's just like it works just so much better.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. So external links, external references. That's
Okay.
my
Oh,
next
wow.
question.
Let's
Yeah.
dive into this. Okay, cool.
So, so I know you spoke about external references in your index video a little bit. I think you spoke about how you took the literature on, was it the index video? You took the literature note, the bib note, and you had something that resonated with you, but you didn't have time to develop it into a main note. So you put it into the index as an external reference. So that's one way I saw you doing it. And then you also spoke about using them in the main box.
Yep.
Maybe I thought of them like maybe collective reference, like hub notes, but instead of referencing what's happening inside the box, you're referencing something outside the box. That's
yes,
how
exactly. Yeah. They're kind of like they're external links, like all the card links, like whenever you're creating links internally inside the Antinet, those are internal links.
Mhm.
And I can call them X links, or something. I for some reason I feel like external references, and I think that implies more that it's an external like source, like literature or something.
Mhm.
So that's just the term we're sticking with for now. But yes,
Yep.
you nailed it. There's internal links and external links, and that's what that is. Yeah.
So how do you handle? I'm more interested in how do you handle them in the context of your index.
Mhm.
I have some things in my index, but last week I think I came across a concept. What was it? Onomatopoeia is how the words sound.
Mhm.
How you write them, basically. I forgot the meaning, but it's a literary meaning. It's a literary word, and I didn't have time to create a main note. So what I did is I just wrote it on my index, and with a different color pen, and I pointed to my literature note.
Okay, I got you.
So,
I know what you're talking about. So, what we and I've done that too. Basically, what you can do is they're called like bib card addresses. It's like on your bib card you can give it its own address. Like author last name /1, author last name /2. So you essentially linked to your bib notes, right?
yeah.
Is that what you did? Yeah. So I did that. I'll tell you. Yeah. Hey, should we also take down this the iPhone video, or do you think we're gonna use that just so we can?
Let me see.
Yeah, let's take that down for now, just so we can make our screen bigger. Sweet.
Nice.
And then we can fire it up again if we need it.
Yep.
So I used to I think what I was gonna say is I used to do that, and I did it early on because I'm like, oh, because I don't know why it's like we get really addicted to the idea of like creating like this full-on network and linking everything, and then also it kind of, in my mind, it saves time from having to rewrite like the note. You can just link to the bib card, right? So I don't do that anymore. I because the reason is let's say I'm let's say I come across like onomatopoeia and it says, oh, for more on onomatopoeia, see bib card address, whatever, right? And then you go to that and it just says something about onomatopoeia on page 6 of the book. What you end up doing inevitably, or regardless, this is in my experience, is you go to the book. Like you want to go to the source, right? To like kind of like have the idea where you get triggered so you can kind of explain it in your own words at that point. And so what I found is the linking to the bib card address, right? And linking to your literature notes is an extra step. So what I like to do instead is I like to just use external references, is so instead of linking to my lit notes, I would just link to, like what book did you hear about onomatopoeia? What book was that?
I have it here. It's called the Calcutta Chromosome.
Okay.
It's a fiction book by Ghosh Amitav, and some of the characters were like these nerdy type characters that spoke about onomatopoeia, and I like the way they explained it and how he created a fiction around it. So I wanted to keep their definition in mind,
Yes.
and put it somewhere in my index or my main note. And this is where I didn't know where to put it and how to deal with it.
Yeah. So what I would do is I would just put the name of the book and then the page number,
The
you
page
know.
number.
Yeah. And then I would even maybe provide some context and be like, great definition and description of onomatopoeia. That way you kind of know why you're collecting it to ruminate.
And that will be a main note that you're talking about. Or in my bib notes, you talk about where am I gonna write this?
That's the thing is you got two options, right? Is you can put it in your index for onomatopoeia, right? Or you can put it in the main box, like a section on it, if you already had a section on onomatopoeia, which I doubt you would. So what I would do is I would create the entry in the index. Yeah. So kind of backing up, yeah, why don't I kind of go into detail and do the whole purpose and like the options and show you what I do in terms of XREFs. So
yeah, I think that will be better.
Yeah, let me go get my let me go get a bib card and we can walk through it. All right. Okay, so this bib card is from a book I read recently. This is Cal Newport's book called A World Without Email. Okay,
Yeah.
and I actually didn't take too many. I call these bib notes or observation notes. Each one. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 bib notes from this book. Okay, which is actually pretty good. And I didn't get bogged down in reading this book because it was basic. I think honestly, like the whole freaking idea of the book could be summarized in the title, and then like the other thing he talks about is like using Trello, and like that's like 96% of the book. Like, don't use email, don't use email. Use collaboration tools like Trello, or project management tools, kind of. So I didn't try to get bogged down from this book. Now, here's the thing: is when Lumen would fill, usually if Lumen had like 30 bib notes from a book he read, he only created on average about 4 to 5 main notes for that book. So what he did with the other material is he would create XREFs, external references. So he would go to the relevant section, right, in his Antinet, and he would put in this case he would put like Newport page 11 or Newport page 12 in the relevant sections, right? So you have two options here. Now, Lumen always put his external references inside of his main box of his Antinet. So I think the one that would be good for us to work through would be, I think I maybe did it for attention. So if, for instance, you wanted to make an external reference for the word attention, he would go to his index first, and then the index would point him into the main box of his Antinet, where attention lived. And then he would, create a card that said, for more literature on attention, see Newport page 14, right? And that was like his version of an XREF. Now, I've added my own wrinkle to it, as you pointed out. I put my XREFs in 2 places, okay? And I don't do it like, so for attention, I would choose one of 2, but I have 2 options. I'll either put my XREF in the index, right, under attention, or I will go into my main box and find where attention is already developed, and I will put it there in the main box. Now, there's pros and cons to each one. The pros to creating XREFs in your index is that it is a lot faster. Like when I'm trying to process this book, all I have to do is be like, oh, attention. Yeah, I'm going to go look up attention in my index and then just put Newport, page 14, boom, and I'm done, right? If I do it the other way, then I have to go to attention. I have to look it up in my index, let's find attention, and then I have to go to my main box and review the material in the main box on attention and then put it in there. So it takes a little bit more time. What I have found most beneficial is to actually put it in the main box. Kind of like the other example we talked about. What that results in is as I'm surfing through this stuff, I find like more material, basically more references in the course of me surfing through it, you know? So it is beneficial in that. I'm trying to find, like, I think I had like an example today. Let me try to think of like where that came from. Oh yeah. Let me show you something. So I'll show you an example of this. Is what I'm saying making sense so far?
Yep.
Okay.
It's actually very useful to understand because one of my main issues was the external references. I just came across them this week and I was very confused.
Yes. Okay. So, yep, I just came across this today. I'm going to show you how to create an external reference inside of the main box. Okay. So I just pulled this out of my main box for the Antinet. Okay. And this is a section right here where I talk about the biggest opportunities and potentials of the Zettelkasten is combining the Zettelkasten method with diagrams, with your own illustrations and drawings, right? Like this, it's pretty valuable. Like, it's just like, oh, I can kind of grasp the idea right then and there, right? And so the next set of cards talk about this. So let's go through this. So I think this talks about the importance of it. I won't spend too much time on this. Like, so does this. These are main, these are main cards, right? Where I've like developed it out. Now, I kind of get the idea, and I'm like, okay, so this card is the earliest humans communicated not with symbols or characters, but with pictographs, and like, the first, we have like cave paintings, and like, we didn't start with words. We started with writing out like using pictures in caves and of animals and stuff. So the last one I get to is this. And let's see, I used to call them lit refs, like literature refs, and then I changed it to X refs because it's not just literature we're citing any external references, right? And so this one says, hieroglyphics greatly influence many forms of memory. And this is Kahana, which is a book I have on human memory, page 17. And that little D, that's something I don't do anymore either, is I would mark up the margins of that book. I would be like, D, this idea is D on the page, so I could quickly find it. I don't do that anymore. I go straight Lumanian style, Pip Card style. So what this allows me to do, because I don't know if I'm ever going to actually develop out this section, right? So I'm like, I don't have time to write a whole main note out here on hieroglyphics and how they like greatly, form memory. And the previous card already kind of did that, of how, it didn't exactly do that, but there was like related material. So actually today I wrote out this section. I wrote out this whole section, right? And I then stumbled upon this. And so I was like, oh, okay, since I'm actually going to use this, and since this idea is ruminating in my mind, I actually pulled out that book today, and then I included it in this section, and I wrote it out, in my manuscript, in my draft, right? And so what this allowed me to do is, because there's a risk, all this stuff, and this is what Lumen said too, there's a risk that you'll, never develop it. But what's cool is like, you never know. Like I have notes from 2010, 2011 that I'm like, I've actually found very useful, and they're going into my book. Like I'm like, holy crap. Like I love it, because it means like all of the readings that I've done, even from like 15 years ago, have the potential to be used in some future project, right? As you're flipping through it and you stumble upon it accidentally, and it's like, oh my God, like that makes total sense, right? So anyways, this is an external reference. Okay, this is an example of an external reference being placed in the main box, because
placed right after, right behind the node related to it.
exactly. Most similar, yes.
Because my idea was, I think maybe I got it wrong, but my idea was to place it on top of the section on, like the collected references that usually go on the top of the section, where they expand the section before you dive into it. So that's where I have been placing them, and I think that doesn't serve right most of the time. It's better to get, yeah. Go ahead.
So Lumen actually did what you're talking about. They're called, I would call them like, sectional references, like at the very beginning. And I do that as well. The answer is you could do both, right? Like this is kind of a stem, right? This is 4214 3DA F/1. So this is like kind of a small section. And yeah, I placed it, like most similar to the idea. Now, if I'm creating a section, let's call us like a section on let's say like association, right? Association is a concept in human memory, and I have like a lot of cards written about the concept of association. In that case, since it's kind of a big branch or a big stem, right? I will sometimes do what you do, and I will create at the front of the stem, I'll put like, association XREFs, right? With a list of them, right? And that's useful as well. For this one, this is an example of doing it, for a stem. The overall idea is yeah, you want to place it where you think you'll stumble upon it, and it will be useful. And for the big sections, yeah, you can do it at the front. Yeah, I'm sorry. I wish it was a simpler answer, because I'm basically, my answers are like, I'm telling you that it's so flexible. You can choose, there's pros and cons to each one.
Yeah, that's the thing with Zettelkasten. I mean, the Antinet, I've found the more I learn about it, the more nuanced it can become. It can infinitely become nuanced based on one's, needs.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Let me show you an example of using XREFs inside of the index. All right. So, and these are useful too, but they're not as powerful as putting them in that chain where it's like super close to the idea. Let's see. I think I have a good one on memory section. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So this was my first, I call them key term index cards, because they're, how if I get a big, this is for memory, right? And I have like a lot of, that's the first one for memory. These are card links, these are mostly just links to other cards in the Antinet, right? Same with this one, links to other cards in the Antinet. Now, the third one down, and this is, a lot of this stuff is an experiment. The third one down, I have this card, and this is memory, and it says lit refs, I think. I call it X refs now, right? This is the principle of evolving your thinking and mistakes. It's like, I like to keep that it says lit refs and not X refs, because I completely forgot that I used to call them lit refs until I told you. So I've kind of seen my thinking evolve, with like outdated stuff. And this stuff doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that I call it lit refs or X refs. Like in Obsidian, I would get obsessed with, refactoring my code base to have everything, change the terminology, right? All right, so these are XREFs for, this is the history of disciplinary fields, and this is in yeah, and then these are basically XREFs, and there's classic literature on Ben Murdoch, XREFs. Now, yeah, so this is that example. All right, now here's another example of how I've evolved it. In my new XREFs, as you saw from the other card, I would call it Kahana, which is the author's last name, and then 1. This I'm linking to B/found Foundations of Memory, which is kind of a bib card address, and then I put page 4. So it's I know what book to look up, right? But this is kind of an older convention I used, which was a link to a bib card address. What I do now is just I reference the external source directly. I'll be like, Kahana, which is a book on human memory, Kahana, page 4, right? So this will be like classic literature on, Ben Murdoch, another noteworthy. So what this does is basically it saves the risk of getting bogged down and investing too much time into something until you actually use it. It turns out I actually ended up using this stuff, right? So when I would come onto it, I would just use it in the manuscript in the book. Yeah.
Well, that makes much more sense now. Let me tell you that.
Yeah. Man, when I first started doing this thing, like I would create, it would take me like 3 months, I feel like, to finish a book that should have taken me 3 days, and the reason why is because I would first, I didn't know the Lumen way. Like I would first stop and create like a main note for every idea that I thought was really good and important, right? So then I learned, okay, that's not feasible, right? So then I started adopting the Lumanian bib card method, the book to bib card method. And then when I did that, I was under the assumption or under the impression, because Sankey Arens never specified this. I was under the impression that every single bib note that you took from reading a book, every single one you would then convert into a main card. And no, that's not the case. That's not the case at all. Because Lumen basically used XREFs, and also it's also just a simple math thing. So in Lumen's second Zettelkasten, he had 67,000 main cards, and he had 15,000 titles in his bibliography box. So if we divide 67,000 divided by 15,000, it gives us about I think 4 to 5 main cards for every title and book that was in his bibliography, right? So obviously, and then on every single bib card he had about 20 to 30, at least 20 to 30 ideas. So he's not obviously you writing and developing every single one of those ideas. And so what did he do? He determined the 4 or 5 best ideas, for each book that he read, and he developed those onto main cards. For the other ones, he would just create XREFs like I've just shown you.
Yeah.
Perfect. Cool.
Yeah. External references. So I think I have it down. I do want to use them more often because especially my Antinet is not as developed as yours because progress had stalled over the summer last year. But
yeah, you just started. You're gonna get there sooner than you think.
One of the reasons it stalled is because I was taking my bib notes and then I had this belief that I had to expand all of it.
Yes, I know. I did too. You burn yourself out that way.
Yeah, and I burned myself out, and I was like, I don't want to work on my Zettelkasten now. Later. I'll take care of these notes later, and then eventually I never took care of these notes. Yeah. But the external references and selectively creating main notes, that I think will take some of the friction off. And that's why I wanted to go over them, because I did find them very important as a concept.
Yeah. And you know what? Here's another philosophy thing too on reading is I read a lot more skeptically. So not skeptically, but like the idea really has to it either has to be absolutely urgent and relevant to what I'm currently working on, or it has to be so good that I have to write it down. And I'll read like 10 more pages before, like I'll come up upon a really good idea, and I'll continue reading. I won't write it down. I'll be like, huh, that's interesting. Okay. And if I keep thinking about it and then it's like 30 pages later, I'll then write it down briefly on the Pip card. So read as if the book, read confidently, like, oh, I don't need to write down furiously like every single thing, and like don't get bogged down by it. Because I think that's one way reading can start to become unfun, is if you feel like, you know, you're creating so much homework for yourself, and you know, don't feel the need to write all that stuff down. It can just reverberate in your mind. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's next?
Yeah, I love it.
Let's see. So that's not I had a question. I mean, I'm gonna ask it. It's not related to the Antinet specifically, but I think one of your videos you mentioned that you have a ADHD. Is that correct?
Yes.
So my question is, how have you, I mean, if you want to answer this unrelated kind of question, but how do you deal with your ADHD, and how do you view your ADHD in the context of your Antinet? Does it ever hinder you? Does it help you? Because I found out that this, as a note-taking and knowledge management method, was a light bulb for me, especially for my ADHD mind.
Yeah.
This is the tactile texture of it, the atomic texture of it. It's something that actually gives me a dopamine rush every time I go through the notebook, something that I was not able to get in the digital world. Maybe when I was changing over different note applications every week, but now I feel like this is something that matches the way my mind works. How do you view this?
Absolutely. I think I feel like it has really developed my mind like organically and naturally, and almost like it's like its own ADHD cure almost. You know, it's like I don't want to, like, you know, create sensational headlines like man cures ADHD with box of note cards, but I swear to God, like the act of writing by hand and doing this and creating this, it really does have a calming effect, have me have more control over my thoughts. It also, it's like makes you less scatterbrained, like you're moving way too fast on digital. So it's definitely, yeah, it's been a game changer for me. I also, you know, it's interesting too, and like I don't care about, like, I love this question, is because, you know, I think I'm eventually going to be writing I don't know, maybe creating something, or I don't know if I want to write a whole book on this, because I didn't realize what I was biting off with this book, right? But you know, like I was diagnosed with ADHD in like kindergarten or first grade, and I had been like medicated on, you know, some form of medication ever since first grade. And I'm 36 now, and like, so for a very long time I was like, you know, on like Ritalin, and then like prescribed Concerta, and then Adderall, and then like you know, Vyvanse, and then like, you know, switched around and stuff. Well, what's interesting, like today I'm on nothing. I'm on zero medication. I mean, like, I think it's good for some, like, I think it's good for people. It's fine. I'm not like saying, oh, you know, get off of it. But and so when I got off of it about I don't know, maybe like September of this past year, right? So like in the beginning, of working and building out the Antinet, I was taking it, right? And a lot of the stuff your body gets used to it. And so when I got off of it because I was like, okay, you know, like basically I got in a new relationship, and she was very much into like organic, you know, organic, herbal, like naturopath stuff. So I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm like, I'm in drunk love. Like I'm gonna try this for the first time and just get off of it completely. And I've shockingly been able to like focus just as well, just as much, and not, and also I think focus. I major in the minor a lot less, and I don't think this would have been possible unless I actually stuck to and built out and used, analog thinking tools. And because what it allows you to do, especially when you're writing, it allows you to get all the crazy, like I think they call us like, you have a almost your thoughts are almost like this, like you have like a sports car, like a Lamborghini brain with like, you know, bicycle brakes, right? Like your mind just goes. And so what I think the working with analog and writing on paper, it slows your mind down and just focuses you. And it ends up having a lot of repercussions and huge, awesome effects beyond. Like I've almost like changed up my neural pathways and changed up how my brain works just by using the tool, but not just using the tool. Like I think in the tool when I'm reading and stuff, and in life, I'm able to categorize things a lot more efficiently. And like I think, what area of knowledge would that go into, and not to get overwhelmed by it. And this system, and I think what Lumen said too, it's a system of order and disorder. It's a system of order and chaos. Like we are navigating around this world of chaos, but allows us to not order chaos, but allows us to structure chaos and be almost comfortable with it. It's like, look at this whole thing is freaking chaos. It's like branches inside branches. And like, the only way to navigate this is to, you use your index and branch down, but you almost have this Luminesque, or Lumen kind of had this, I would call it this carnival-esque kind of demeanor and attitude. Like it seemed like he would really piss off the normal sociology thinkers and professors, because Lumen would just like throw out these crazy paradoxes that were seemingly absurd yet made complete sense. And I think that's what this system does as well. It makes you a little bit more confident and calm amidst the chaos of life. And I think for ADHD people, it's very helpful.
Yeah. And I think he also said, I think he definitely said that, also ADHD minds, you don't have to, if something bores you, because that's something very natural for ADHD minds. If something doesn't ignite the dopamine receptors anymore, you can just leave it and go to another place in your notebooks where new ideas can come through. And when you have the spark of energy again, you can go a few numbers down and find what you have been working for. So it's a natural evolution of your, thinking and your interests.
Yeah, and all of the stuff that you grew. Yeah, it's funny. It's like, we people with ADHD, we don't have attention problems. We have boredom problems. We just get bored with things, right?
Yeah.
we have to dive in, right?
Yeah.
The cool thing is what Lumen mentioned is he works all day and all night, or I mean, he did because it was his passion, but he would write on something, and then if he got, I have the quote, but and then I think Arendt's talked about it, is if he hit a wall or if he grew bored, he would just move on to a different section, write a different project. So your knowledge gets deeply evolved asynchronously. And the cool thing about it is that all of the stuff that you grew bored with ends up being stuff that you can then use and integrate easily in your new project and thing. And the reason I think that is, I swear to God, is the analog nature of it. People are always like, oh my God, like what if I lose my notes, and like, why do I, go with analog? It's like, if you do that type of thinking, if you put a project down in the digital world, you're never going to go and open up that, that file, that section, or in your file system and stuff. That's like old and outdated stuff, right? With the analog nature of this thing, A, it gets linked. B, you stumble across it when you're like filtering and exploring and using the index. And then C, it's just like, it's there. You flip it up, you open it up, and you can like instantly refresh on it. And it's just like, it's less, and also it's also a motivator tool. Like, let's say you've developed a project like for, I don't know, 3 months, and you have like a huge stack like this thick, of note cards. Within the digital world, it's in a black hole. You'll never see that again. You'll forget that it even exists. Within the Antinet, within the analog, it's present in your face saying, oh, dude, are you really going to throw this away and never like look at it again? Like, you should review it. and as a result, you end up using it more, and it's there, so it's like all of the knowledge you create, it's a lot more tangible, which is a huge property that I think is completely missed out on in the digital realm. So that's another reason why this thing works so well.
Yeah, and I really hope that more people get to know about the analog because it I think it does have benefits that we quite frankly have forgotten about in the digital world.
Yeah. And look, what we're talking about here is not, it's not, becoming Luddites and like an Amish person and never using technology again, right? Like, technology is great for communication and for interpersonal communication, like us right now. It's fantastic. For intrapersonal, which is the communication within your own mind, the internal dialogue, and getting out your thoughts. The thinking on paper in the analog medium is just way better. And and another thing is that you can take all of the stuff you seem very savvy on digital, and you can kind of take a lot of that knowledge and a lot of the skill sets that you have on digital, and write papers, and stuff like that, or create creative works and stuff using digital tools. But you use it with the note cards already pre-processed on your desk, and the way you write will be so much more better. Your audience will notice it too.
Yeah, well, I think I definitely have noticed it with you. I mean, I've never read your pre-Antinet works, but if you have any, but I can imagine your note cards when you write when you share the PDF chapters and everything. It's just the amount of stuff that you can publish is just wonderful.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, before that you spoke about your book, and I think you shared the number of words you've written so far, and that's like a tremendous amount that just came out of a note box. I mean, that's wonderful.
Yeah, it's like 182 or 183,000 words as of today. And
wow.
It's a pro and a con. It's like, oh, the pro with Antinet, it turns you into a publication machine, right? Just like Lumen was. And the con with Antinet, well, it turns you into a publication machine. Now I've like, it depends on what format I use, but it's like, it's a lot of words, and it's good. It's good that way. And then I can like edit out and cut out the stuff that really isn't absolutely critical. I can cut out the fluff during the editing process. But what it really helps with, I swear to God, more than anything, is it cures writer's block. Because a lot of times when you sit down at your desk or word processor to type, you have to think, and you have to like, oh my God, and then you just hit writer's block. When you start with a stack of note cards already written out beautifully, all you're doing is you're communicating with it. You're not writing it out word for word. You're using it as the basis, and then it just flows. Like, you get into rhythm, and then you can get in the flow state a lot easier.
Yeah, to be honest, last year, the year before that, I started doing I started working on creating my Zettelkasten, my Antinet, and I was still in college, and I was doing my capstone. That's like the last major project that you have to do to get your undergraduate degree. And I had started, and I had my capstone was on immigration, and I had some notes in my Zettelkasten on immigration. And I remember just going through them, getting prompted, because I knew what I wanted to write about. And just my project just came unfolded through out of my notes. And that was wonderful. And this is when I, went all in.
Yes.
Into the Lumen Zettelkasten Antinet.
Yeah.
It's just a wonderful feeling.
Yeah. You're part of the tribe. You've experienced the magic.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. Isn't it? It's interesting too. Is they act as a cue, like a cue or a prompt that triggers like a whole, where you fill in the blanks in your mind, right? And and that's an important thing too. Is like, with digital notes, we can like have them be like too much all encompassing, especially when people try to create digital gardens and go crazy like that. It's just like, no, it's like you want to use it as a means to the end, and you want them to serve as a prompt or a cue to help induce and I guess help with the creative work, right? So Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. I love that you saw the magic, from that experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. So, let's see.
Yeah. By
My
the way,
mind's
Nick.
kind of blocked right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, I love working with you on this. I love your passion and how deep you've gone on this. And yeah, let me ask you for a second. We forgot to even talk about this, but what's your main line of work? What's your craft? What's your interests? Like what do you do? And yeah, give us a little background.
Yeah, so I graduated last year, 2 years ago. Sorry, the pandemic has blurred my timeline.
like all of us.
Yeah, 2 years ago from Baruch College in New York City, and I studied business administration and then public affairs, and now I took a 2 year off from school. I was working, uh, read a lot of books, and now I'm studying for my LSAT.
Okay.
Hopefully one day I'll go to law school.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I have no idea what I want to do, but what has always been in my mind is I want to write books, especially fiction, as well as nonfiction. And I have a blog where I publish essays and short pieces of writing. Uh, and this is my life so far,
Yeah.
trying to expand my mind, not I consider myself a generalist.
Mm-hmm.
I never had a solid direction in life, a solid interest. I've always, I'm fleeting with the times. So that's why I also chose law, because it's a pretty general career.
Mm-hmm.
I'll see where I go in the future. I do not know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. So it sounds like your creative output, is writing essentially,
Yeah.
which is perfect for this. It's a, tool. I think I haven't seen, I'm sure there are, but the use cases for people creative, people can do creative output, if they create videos, and use the Antinet, or Zettelkasten for videos, things like that. But yeah, I mean, you're going to get a ton of value out of this for writing, but also a ton of value out of it for growth and connecting, and the intersection of a bunch of different ideas, and especially law too. I've heard people that have gone through law school, and like their secret to their success was they would write by hand. I don't know if it's like, I don't know if you're going to put all of the your material that you learn in law school, into the Antinet Zettelkasten. Yeah. It's like, I'm not sure about that, because like, like a commonplace book or like a subject, a notebook for a subject might be more feasible. But I think there would be like a lot of stuff that, who knows? I mean, you could probably figure out a way to use the Antinet Zettelkasten for that. It could be pretty useful.
Yeah. Maybe it will be something like Luhmann's first main box.
Yeah.
When it go to law school, and then intersect with my actual no box. I don't know. We'll see how it's gonna evolve.
Yeah.
I guess that's the beauty.
Yeah. I think you're doing the Luhmann route too. He went to law school and studied.
He did. Yeah.
Yep. He studied Roman law, and then he graduated and realized he hated legal work. And then like they would ask him, like the clock would strike 5 and he would get home, and they would ask him to go to extra events and stuff like that, and networking events, and he responded once. He was like, I can't tonight. And they're like, why? He's like, oh, I'm reading like Husserl, like some philosopher, like all night, and working with his Zettelkasten, So but who knows, maybe you'll love the field of law, or maybe, I mean, you'll obviously get a ton of value in both, but yeah, that's awesome.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, why don't we jump into the let's look at your classification scheme and system and figure out how we can integrate the disciplinary fields.
Yep. So can you see, or should I put my phone up?
Yeah, let's put the phone up again.
So right, I think I'm connected. I think you have to let me in.
Oh yeah.
Got it. Okay. So
Or can you turn the
there you
yeah,
go.
there we go. Cool.
So those
Okay.
are my top level sections.
Sort of. Yeah. So let's talk about ADHD and you know, like where we would put that. Um, we have several options here. I'm not sure there's a correct option. Okay.
Mhm.
So you know, you've set yours up. This is like the basic, this is kind of like Lumen's first Zettelkasten, you know, which is fine. You have your own kind of classification system. So to put ADHD is, like you said, is one option is we could put it in, is it on 10? I can't really see it right now.
10
Is it
is
on,
health.
yeah,
Wait, I
so
lost. What is it? Yep, yep,
yeah.
10.
So we could put it in like 10 dot, you know, 10.1, 10.2, and branch down from there. You know, that's one option to do it.
Mm.
Another option to do it is we could put it in like you know, 10A, you know, and just have that in between, right? So it'll be like, and Lewin didn't, I don't think he did this as much, you know, like having a branch, but you can do like 10A.1, 10A.2, and like you just know that that is the ADHD branch. That way it kind of like can bundle around health. The third option we're looking at is we can create like a you know, we can create, you know, the academic disciplinary fields, and you know, like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, kind of like how you've seen me do in the other videos. And you know, these would live in there as well, right? We would just start using the academic disciplinary fields. So it's an interesting decision. It's a personal decision. It's a lot of it is up to you. And what are your thoughts on how, did you have any ideas or things in mind of how you would want to evolve this?
So, so basically, my top level sections have already, some of them become, how you call it, fuzzy. I think you spoke about it.
Yes, yes.
They have become intermingled with other sections. So, you know, not all of them are what they mean. For example, in global studies, if I go through them, I will tackle a section with that's dedicated to war
Mm-hmm.
and World War II. Then it's going to be nootropics used in World War II. And then within that, it goes into another section that I talk about the global novel. I don't know if you heard of this term. It's like a way of writing about the world from a globalized point of view. So it becomes global studies, war, then literature in the global realm. And I feel like these sections, I would like to leave them as they are because they have already become kind of fuzzy, and I don't know how to put this academic disciplinary sections there.
Yeah, we wouldn't do anything with them. You know, it would,
Yeah,
this would live alongside of them.
yeah. And
Um,
my goal is, well, not my goal, but like my idea was to use when I come up with a new line of thought that doesn't belong to my current top level sections, maybe use the Wikipedia sections to branch from there. That's what I
mhm.
wanted to do, so as to not create like a list of like basically another index.
Yeah,
So that's what I wanted to do. So, but I honestly have no idea how to go about that.
yeah. And then like, you know how you said that like within global here, I'll turn off this video for now. Within, yeah, cool. You said within global, there, global studies, there's been like a bunch of new branches and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And that is all, you can find that kind of from, did you create index entries?
Yes.
Okay.
That is yeah,
For
I
all-
do have it.
Yeah, for all the sub branches. Okay,
Mhm.
cool. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think the way you have it right now is fine. I really like it, and it could be very unique. The question is I'm 50-50. It's your decision on if you want to actually integrate the academic disciplines onto your system. It's like, I would keep your system the way it is. It's just have the academic disciplines as well, the 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, that would essentially go afterwards. So
Yeah. I really want, I don't know why, but like I really want to do that because it gives me like if I do the academic disciplines, like it gives me like kind of like mental room to develop further without actually having to, because my current problem is, well, I have to fit them within these sections, and these sections are not necessarily where my notes are going to fit.
Yeah, they're not broad enough.
Yeah, they're not broad enough.
Yeah, let's build out the academic disciplines on top of them.
Yeah, I think that will be my goal. And
yeah,
I'll do that.
Yeah. So I mean, we can walk through it like now, and if you want to, but it would be 1,000 would be arts and humanities, and we would just go down the list.
Yeah, I mean, I know how to set them up. I guess my question is now, when I want to reference an academic disciplinary field, maybe I can cross-reference the entire top-level section there, if it fits there, so that it notes that relate to if there is a new note that doesn't necessarily fit into my existing notes, can go into the academic disciplinary, the new discipline that I established, and then reference the entire top-level section there if it broadly fits as a topic of interest. Like, as to not confuse them, I guess. I don't know if you understand what I mean. It's just
so okay, let's use the ADHD example, right? You're studying the field of ADHD.
Yeah.
Let's figure out where that would go. I'm gonna pull up my academic disciplines. Would that go in like cognitive psychology, or if I could share my screen so people can see how I do it. I'll share my screen right now. Okay. All right. So what field would ADHD go into, do you think?
I know it can be tackled from a psychological perspective and from neurological, psychiatric perspectives.
Yeah.
It's a broad, there. I mean, depends how I approach it. I approach it from the neurological perspective mostly.
Yeah. You know how I like to do it is I like to go to for the reading. They don't have it for this one. Is it classification? Sometimes they'll have like C also, and that C also will kind of tell you. Neurodevelopment. I love that they call it a disorder. It's actually a superpower. says the people with the disorder. Oh, that's cool. Connected to hyperfocus. Yep. Neurodevelopment. So yeah. Okay. So now we have kind of like field neuro. think neuropsychology. That's an interesting place to put it. Neuroscience. Yeah. See how it's kind of like fuzzy categories. It's on us to decide.
Yeah, honestly, it's very fuzzy.
Yeah. I like the idea of putting it in neuropsychology. I think because I have a section on ADHD as well. And mine's in the neuropsychology, neuropsychology section.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely go there.
Yeah. So I think mine is in like 2427 or something like random because so you know how I've mapped these, like humanities is mapped to 1000, right?
Yep.
Social science I've mapped to 2000. And so in mine my psychology section is 2400, right? And so within that I think I have my ADHD. Let's see if I can pull it up. Section. Yeah, mine is in 2449, my ADHD section.
2449.
2449. Just and it could have been 2441, doesn't matter, right? It's just like you have it referenced in the index. So yeah, for that I would put ADHD in 2449, or it could be, you could choose 2100 for psychology, but it's going to be around there. And then I would start developing it in there. So your first note would be 2449.1, and then second note 2449.2, and so, and I wouldn't worry about linking that to health. Like, so for instance, it's like how you have the health branch, like you're going to know that. And whenever you look up, I'll stop sharing my screen here. Whenever you look up health, it's going to point you to like what, branch 10, I think it is.
Branch 10.
Yeah. And that's fine, because it doesn't matter, because and the cool part about that is that, like, that'll signal that, like, you'll remind yourself that that you started out with like creating those, like, you have certain categories that are kind of special, and so you'll go to that part. And then what's cool about that is when you're reviewing the notes in the health section, you'll realize how old they are, compared to like how you've evolved it. And then you'll see that inwardly grow. Honestly, like I might start out and like eventually, I might go your route, and I might create like category 1, 2, 3, 4, because like I have all that room up to 1000. Like so it's cool that you started that way. It works perfect. Yeah, let's just depend on the academic disciplines. You don't have to redo anything. Never delete, only evolve, remember?
Yeah, because I was like, I should just take my wipe out and re-branch everything. But I'm like, no. What you said, I think it's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that feel better too? It's just like,
yeah.
What you're doing also when you do that is you're training the mind to like, that doesn't matter. That type of stuff, it evolves. It's so flexible. The stuff that matters is the stuff, on the actual card, your thoughts, your habits.
Yeah.
So
I mean, eventually what matters is the index, finding your notes
exactly,
and be able to identify them, eventually work through them. I mean, as you said and Luhman said, everything is going to become fuzzy over time, so don't stress over it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It's almost a relief, I think, to people like us. It's like I've spent so much time. I've spent weekends even like refactoring my like Obsidian, and like Obsidian repository, and like coming up with all the new conventions, plugins, all of that stuff. And like I remember like screwing around with the whole Zettelkasten ID system and digital, which is like the dates. Have you seen those?
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
starts with the dates.
I used to use them for quite some
Yeah,
time.
that's a mistake. Like the that whole concept of dates was based on this idea of it was like this Asian system that where this guy always like had his most recently accessed envelopes towards the left of his. I don't know, I'm explaining this wrong. There was like this old ancient system where notes were stored by dates, by most recently accessed, and someone decided, oh, that's kind of a cool concept. I'm going to borrow that and apply it onto Zettelkasten for the digital world. And we're just going to created dates, because people like dates and stuff. And it's like, actually, Lumen never used dates, number one. And then second of all, if even if you, use dates, you're using it wrong. Like the guy that the whole date organized system is based on, it's organizing your stuff by most recently opened date. You know how like in the Mac or on your computer in the Finder, you can sort your files by most recently opened or most recently modified. That's the date system that he was inspired by. Yet he, for some reason, decided to organize and create and tell everyone that Zettelkasten IDs are organized by created date, and that's false. And so so it's like you'll find like people in the digital Zettelkasten world like obsessing over all this stuff, and they're like obsessing over the wrong thing. They're obsessing over inventions. So anyway, yeah. But we anti-netters, we know best. We know to develop things the hard way and not bother ourselves with that stuff, because it's unfeasible to bother ourselves with that stuff, because if you wanted to update all of those cards, it's a pain in the ass. You would have to use a ton of whiteout. Good news is you don't have to do it because it doesn't matter. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. Well, what else? Anything else we should cover? What else? I'm here for another 20 minutes, man. You've got me. So any other questions, ideas? I'm loving it. So
let's see. So I have this writing app that I have, IA Writer.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Type on it. I love the interface. So I wrote a bunch of my notes before coming to you. Let's see what I have there. So I came to you mostly for the new ones, because I think I read the Schmidt's that's my Bible over here.
Yes, I know, isn't it?
I consider it is my Bible.
Yeah.
Publication machine, thinking tool, communication partner. So I came to you basically just to iron out all of my spots where I thought I lacked a little bit. Let's see what I wrote. Yeah, I think we covered everything. Let me see what else.
Didn't you want to talk about the bib notes or literature notes or something?
Oh yeah, yeah, I forgot about it. Yeah. So I did want to talk about them. Thank God I have you. So I haven't created, even when I started doing the analog, I was still typing up my notes, because I wasn't ready to. I didn't have my other box ready, so I have 0 bib notes offline, and I don't want to print them out. I think what I have, I'll leave them there. And
yeah, they're fine.
I think they're also in Zotero, some of them. Yeah, my new ones are gonna be on paper, and the format basically is gonna be last name, first name, date, and then you go with the name of the book, right? Is that how you normally do it?
I do mine. You know what I use? I use in Zotero. You know how you can create a bibliography for it. So I use that format.
Yeah.
So I could just show. You want me to share screen and show you?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's put this down here. So. Yeah. So here's Zotero. I'm going to show you like Cal Newport. Here's a world without email, right? So if you right click on that, I think I forgot what the keyboard shortcut is. I use the keyboard shortcut for another thing of, but you just create bibliography from item. I do Chicago style. That's what I prefer.
Chicago.
So it ends up looking like that. This is in my text editor. I don't know if you can see that.
Yep.
So Newport Cal, right? A World Without Email. So title, and New York Portfolio 2021. So because sometimes I forget the order. So here's mine. It's same type of format, right?
Yeah.
Now, as you'll also see, I'll stop sharing my screen now because I can show.
What's that extra stuff you get?
Exactly. All right. So, and this, so I also have again, this is, it can bog you down. It could be kind of a pain in the ass, but I have a goal. Okay. I write goal, and then I also write overview. And so I learned this from Mortimer Adler's classic book titled How to Read a Book. Okay. And he calls a process, you should x-ray a book, like write out its table of contents and like kind of create its skeleton. So that's what the overview is. And then I have the goal. Okay. So mine says extract research relating to digital negatives and analog benefits, right? So that kind of primes your mind to look for certain things while you're reading. And then I have the overview. Like the overview of this book is the hyperactive hive mind. Email reduces productivity, makes us miserable. So I've kind of like outlined it, which is actually, the overview stuff is pretty valuable because then it can like refresh when I'm going through these cards. It like refreshes me on like what's actually in it. Attention capital, process protocol, specialization, that stuff. Yeah. And then then here's the Pip card. As you can see, it's like I have the page number in parentheses and then the brief like summary of the idea. This is like I call them an observation note. Think of these notes as just observations, either like a thought that comes up or the observation of like, oh, it's interesting. So like, and then like attention means that tells me, because I've underlined it, that I'm to look up the keyword attention. Let me actually check something. If I look up attention, I want to see what happens. Oh yeah. All right. So here's an example. All right. So this is my key term index for attention, right? Now at the very bottom, you'll see Newport 14FF, which means 14 in the following pages. So that's an XREF to that part in the book. You see?
Yep.
Yeah. And so that's an instance where I didn't actually install the XREF in the main box, which is a little bit more valuable. And I think that's fine because I'm not really, like I've written a little bit about attention, but I'm not writing a book about attention. Like if I was writing a book about attention, I would like figure out what specifically in that main box about attention that this XREF should go. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So go overview. So overview basically is just the table of contents, just to have the ideas.
Yes.
Maybe.
And don't turn it into a painful job like where it would be boring either. Like I wrote down like the chapter title might have been like why attention capital is important, but I didn't write the whole table of contents. I just wrote attention capital. Like you want to make this very quick because time is so limited, and the analog makes you even more aware of you have to be very selective with your time, which is a good thing.
Yep. Yeah. So apart from that, I think I know how to, I have the idea of how to take the bib notes, the observation notes. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I want to say thank you.
Yeah,
that was very helpful.
Yeah.
My mind, it has been a long day at work today, so my mind still But this I really wanted to do, to speak to you and get some things ironed out. Because even when I have confidence in my system, when something bugs my mind, I need to have it clarified. Otherwise, I will not sleep at night. I'm like, let me see, should I do the academic disciplinary section? So should I, where to do, like
Yeah.
it gets, so
Yeah.
it's good that we.
Everything I've told you, I have a feeling that you've thought about doing it that way, but I think it's good for
Yeah.
you to see how, I was in the same exact place you were, and then just to be able to see how I did it and to confirm how, what
Yeah.
you were thinking is probably helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's this to get the nod of approval, even if it doesn't mean anything, just
Yeah.
to get my confidence up and running. That's what
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
Need.
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, man, I'm very appreciative, and this was an absolute blast for me to, teach someone
Yeah.
like you that's pretty far down the you're both far down the path, yet not far at all.
Yeah.
In your
I
journey.
feel like I'm a newbie,
Yeah,
to be
yeah,
honest. I
yeah,
have a long way to go.
yeah. Hey, so I would love to see your bib notes, bib cards, and all that stuff, and hear about your progress,
Mhm.
and how you're doing. So yeah, whatever either on YouTube or on the Reddit forum, share your updates. I'd love to see how your bib cards turn out and what your experience is like, reading using the bib card, and
Mhm.
doing bib notes versus the digital stuff.
Yeah.
So I think it'll be maybe a little unique at first, but I feel like you'll pick it up and run with it. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll definitely, I think I'm a member of the Reddit community. I've been commenting there under a pseudonym,
Yeah.
but I have been commenting there. I will keep you posted, and I'm looking forward to starting taking my bib notes and creating my main notes.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right, Nikolaos. Well, thank you so much. I'll hit the stop record button right now. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you.